Hey guys, Bridget here. In this video, we're going to continue our series where we're creating a design system from scratch. And in this video specifically, we're going to create the textiles. Now, in the previous one, we talked about the color styles, and in this one right here, we're going to start adding some different textiles directly in Figma. So the very first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to simply select these elements right here, and we're actually going to copy all the color styles directly in this section. Now let's start adding some of these styles. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to simply get rid of all these elements, and right afterwards what we're going to do as a start is we're going to simply ungroup this, and we're going to start adding the different headings. So heading 1, and we're going to create 2 variations of these. The first one is going to be bold, and the second one is going to be lighter. So let's go over here. Let's simply let's remove or actually bring this one here for the time being, and we're going to create a very simple and straightforward text design system. We're not going to go like crazy with it. So as a start, you always want to keep in mind the developers. So we're going to create a different type of headings which are going to be used for the H1s, H2s, H3s, and so on. So this is going to serve us as the base for the design system. And then we're going to also add some other elements, which let's duplicate this just a few times using Command D, and we're going to go ahead and write, for example, paragraph big, and actually let's copy it like this, and paragraph let's call it default or normal, something around these lines could work. Then we're going to also have some label text, and maybe let's call this label 1. Then we're going to have label 2. All right, so far so good. Let's make this one extra bold as well. And after that, we can also continue adding new different textiles for this specific design system. Don't really need like a whole lot. Maybe we want to create a dark version of these styles, but that's up for something that we're gonna do later on. So let's go over here and let's start creating the different variations of these. So I'm going to start by simply making this smaller, since this shouldn't be like really big. And I'm going to also make the paragraph text just regular, and this one here, when it's bold, we don't want to make them like too pronounced, so they're going to be smaller. Now the H1s, probably going to add a little bit of more size to them, since these are going to be the most prominent headings in the entire system. The H2s are going to be a little bit smaller, H3 a little bit smaller as well, and so on and so forth for the other ones. So 13, and then the H6, which are not going to be used as often, are also going to be smaller. All right, so let's also change the labels, and we're going to make them all caps, and we're going to make them just a little bit smaller, and we can also consider adding a little bit more of spacing between the different letters, so we can have this nice little effect right here. All right, so far so good. And now another thing we can do is, well, for sure make the paragraph text a little bit smaller. And another thing is we can use the distribute vertical spacing in order to have them all distributed in this very nice and easy way. And we can also add some descriptive elements such as the font size. So for example 11 pt, you can make these smaller and also have a tint of gray, and we can essentially arrange them as we wish, probably here on the left, so we can easily see the how big are these individual elements. And this is going to serve us mainly for having like an overview right away when it comes to these text elements. And this is optional, you can add it, you can also decide not to add this one in, but nonetheless something which can be quite useful to consider. So let's go ahead, let's add them right here. We're going to write 24 on this one, then 24 on this one. This one's going to be 21 and 21, then 17 and 17, this one 14 and 14, and so on and so forth, pretty much. So we're essentially going to have all the different sizes that we are going to work at, just to make it easier to see at a glance. Alright, by the way guys, I want to remind you that I recently launched a free course on how to get started in UI UX design, so if you're interested in these type of topics, feel free to check it out, especially if you're starting out. And myself, have been doing this for almost 10 years now, so it's been a while, and I'm basically sharing this knowledge for free on the channel, and yeah, just enjoyable things to do. Now let's go right into the meat of this tutorial, which are the textiles. So as you may know from the previous video, we're going to have something similar to the color styles when it comes to the textiles. So we're going to write here create a new style, or actually click on create new style, and we're going to write heading 1, and then we're going to write the state normal, and this state can be or actually regular. I think that's going to be better. So this one here is going to create our very first textile in Figma, which we can also later on edit directly here. We can have a description, edit all the properties really, so we can essentially have one single element for to control all of the heading ones in our design file. Now let's create another one, which is going to be this one here, heading 1 bold, and this as you can see, we have now two variations, heading 1 regular and bold, and we're pretty much going to continue in this way for all the remaining of these elements. So this one's going to be heading 2 regular, and we're essentially going to just go ahead and add all of the other ones. So again, something very similar to what we did earlier on with the color styles, and it's just something which you set up at first, and then you don't really have to think about too much for the rest of the project unless you're changing the design system. And if you do, you can easily do it in a fast way, since if the work has been done well up front, you probably won't have to deal with much at all when it comes to like advanced settings and all those things. So pretty straightforward, I would say. And let's change this one. So as you can see, I already made a mistake there of having a little bit too many H2s. Now, where did this happen? And I'm going to show you exactly how you can overcome this issue. So basically, one thing that you can do is if you spotted that, so for example, these ones are H2s, these ones are H3s, but here's an H2. And also here there's an H2 and here's an H2. So the way you solve this is you simply delete the style directly from here. And I don't want to cut this video out because I want to show you that, well, first of all, stuff like this happen, I wouldn't say all the time, but definitely happen in the workflow of a designer. So this is just part of the job. And secondarily, actually for whatever reason, this this textile was increased bold, and there we go. And secondarily, there's always a way around the problems, and one of your duties as a designer is to use your problem solving skills and figure out a solution to whenever a issue arises. So let's go ahead over here and let's just make this one, let's delete this one, let's make it extra bold, and as you might have seen here, we have the heading 6. This one's going to be regular. And so far we're having all of the heading styles. And now let's go over here. Let's write bold. And now let's start adding the different paragraph styles. All right. Let's just write paragraph, then big. Then this one is going to be paragraph, big, and bold. All right. Regular. And this other one is going to be paragraph, bold. Now let's continue on with the labels. Label 1, I'm going to write regular. So we're going to have 3 divisions here, since we have, first of all, the label, type of label 1 or 2, and then is it regular or is it bold? So we're going to adjust this as well. All right. So far, so good. And if we double check all of this, we can see how easily we created this textiles within the right order. And if you wanted to go one more layer deep, if you wish, one thing you can consider doing is also creating the white version, and essentially you can change the background color of this one right here. And what this implies is that we're going to need to add one more section, so one more slash whenever you're creating a specific variation of the color, and you have to specify if it's a black version or if it's the white version. So if you're interested in doing that, feel free to continue. We're going to leave it as it is for the moment, but yeah, hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And I want to remind you that this is part of a series of videos where we're creating an entire design system from scratch. So if you haven't checked out the previous ones, feel free to do so, and I'll see you in the next videos.